Good morning, Bike MS, and welcome to the Bike MS Facebook Live. It's our favorite way to start off Ride Weekend with you all. We hope you and your families are all staying safe and healthy. My name is Bill Fitzgerald, and I've been riding with Bike MS for the last 8 years. About 8 years ago, my mother in law died from complications of MS, and I've been committed to the cause ever since. And then, coincidentally, my roommate's brother, my college roommate's brother, discovered he had MS about 6 years ago. So all of a sudden, I had this other terrible connection. And so it's just reinforced my commitment to why we're out here doing this. And no doubt you've got a similar story to tell about why you're watching us today, why you're committed to this cause. So I want to introduce you to my friends who are joining me today. They are Laurie Gallup, Jeff Kerr, and Fran Pede. And so thank you all for joining us this morning. We're going to get to each of the individual stories of my friends this morning about why they ride, about what inspires you, and about what your favorite Bike MS moments have been over these years. Now, many of us have been staying at home as we should, and we'd love to be together in person because we know how joyous that is. There is nothing like the community you feel during a ride. But we'd love to see also how you've been creative with how you've been fundraising or training and how you've stayed connected to your fellow riders. So please keep sharing those powerful stories and comments right here or on our Bike MS Facebook page. Now, whether you have that personal connection to MS or just love to ride your bike or volunteer, whatever it is, or maybe you're just here to party with your teammates, we would love to hear about it. Please make sure you tell us why you ride or why you volunteer and share all of your amazing photos and videos with the hashtag virtual bike MS. That's hashtag virtual bike MS. And did you know you can watch this broadcast with your team or share with your friends and family? You can even start a Facebook watch party so they can all join in. Now, you know the Bike MS experience has changed. Obviously, many things have changed this year, but no matter what, the mission remains the same and our focus should remain the same because MS doesn't stop and neither will we. Now, people living with MS, like all of us on this broadcast today, are relying on the MS Society, the National MS Society. It's a support system through the MS navigators and all those self help groups. And it's a source of financial assistance in times of great need. And this is a time of great need. It's our light in the distance for a cure for MS. And every year that I ride, I'm thinking we are a year closer. You hear about more drugs coming online. You know we're getting there because we're doing it together. So the research funded by Bike MS and Society is just as important today as it was before COVID-19. Now, you've likely heard, but the fundraising you're doing right now is going towards our COVID-19 response fund to directly address the changing needs for people that are living with MS. And this will continue through our efforts in advocacy, the programs, the service, and the research that is so valuable during a time of so much uncertainty and anxiety. So remember, there is still time for you to register for Bike MS as a virtual rider. It's free. How do you like that? Gather your teams and start fundraising. Your support is needed now more than ever. And we know that the Bike MS community never turns away from a challenge, right? When you're out there on that ride, you know you're going to keep going. Also, we're still in our first ever registration flash sale for all in person rides through the end of the year. So use the promo code RIDE for free, and you'll get free registration for any ride after July 15th. So don't forget to share your fundraising successes in the comments because we really want to celebrate you too. And speaking of celebrations, we have a fun-filled day planned for you. Keep your eye on your local Facebook event page for more photos, challenges, videos, or notes from our staff, the volunteers and riders. You can also join our Strava club. You're probably already on Strava, so join our club by searching for the Bike MS cyclists. You can log your ride and share your mileage with all of us. So, having said all that, I'd like to talk a little bit now with our guests today. They've all got a special reason that they're here. They have MS. What is it about this particular ride, about the MS, Bike MS, that means so much? Let's start with Laurie Gallup. And Laurie, short and sweet, why do you ride?
You know, Bill, when I was diagnosed 11 years ago, I was looking for a challenge. In a way, I needed to kind of show MS a thing or two. And I'd always been active, so I started riding 10 years ago. This would be Team Mission Possible's 10th year. We're celebrating it a little bit differently this year, but it was personal. After that first year, though, it became a mission. It became a mission for me to realize that it really wasn't just about me or my family, because as you said, everybody that you talk to knows somebody who's affected by MS. And those who know me know that I have this kind of penchant for counting the days since my diagnosis. As of today, it's 3,907 days. But do you know why I count? Because it allows me to keep the focus in front of me so nobody else has to have a day one. That's why I ride.
Well, and what does it mean to you when you see all the other riders out there? I mean, what I've learned in my 8 years associated with the National MS Society is that there's this huge sense of you're not alone. What is it? What has it meant to you?
There is such a community, and even this year in the situation that we're in, we have not lost that sense of community at all. In fact, I think that the connection is even greater. But what amazes me even more are the number of people who are out there riding who don't even have a connection to MS, who have just picked up the cause because they're a rider or they want to do a challenge of some sort. And it amazes me. Like, I think those people are actually the real heroes in this story.
That is so true. One of my teammates here in Richmond, Virginia, has been riding for, I think, I want to say 16 years or almost as long as there's been one. And he has raised almost $100,000. And he has no connection at all. He got me involved. And I had to say to myself, wait a second, why have I not been involved sooner? Jeff, let's talk to you now. What about your connection? And when you're riding, what are you thinking about actively when you're riding?
So for me, I've been a cyclist pretty much my whole life. I'll be 50 years old this year. And in February of 2006, shortly after I turned 35, I started having some really weird stuff going on and ended up at my neurologist. And, went through that horrific process of being diagnosed, had no idea what multiple sclerosis was. But, I saw some things out there about bike MS. And I thought, well, why don't I marry the two together? It was definitely a segue for me to get in to talk to other people who had something in common. Because to be real frank with you, my wife and I were scared to death what the future would hold. So the first year in 2006, I had like 2 months to assemble a team and start raising some money. We had no idea what to expect, but we showed up and on the Eastern Shore of Virginia at the time, and met some absolutely wonderful people that worked for the MS Society and fellow cyclists and other people that lived with MS every day, whether it was the patient or family members or friends. And it was an absolute fantastic way for me to feel a little bit better about who I am and that I'm still human and that the future was going to be great. And kind of the rest is history. After that, I continued to grow the team and raised several $100,000 over the last, 16, 15 years or so. And aside from that, a big part of it was I'm the kind of person that when I face a challenge, I need to prove that I can overcome that challenge. And it's definitely been that way for me. There's been good years and there's been bad years. There's been years I've done the double century, and then there's been years that I was not able to even do 75 each day. So it's been really something for me that I look forward to every year. It's a huge goal of mine. And I have this whole new community of friends that are just absolutely fantastic. And we have this family reunion every year in May or early June. And that's really what it means to me. It's part of who I am. It's a part of who my family is. My wife, Shannon, rides with us most years or does support, but it's absolutely a wonderful way for me to realize I'm still human and I'm not in this whole thing alone. And at the same time, I get to raise a whole bunch of money that helps us with research. I have absolutely been a benefactor of that. Over the course of the last 14 or 15 years, I've been on several different medications, and the particular one that I'm on now has me feeling better than I was when I was diagnosed with MS. So people need to know that when we ask for that $10 or $20, or we sell one of the what do you call them, Laurie?
Big pops.
Big pops.
That's it. When we sell those, that little bit of money you're giving is absolutely making a difference in people's lives, and I'm living proof of that.
Well, I can tell you, as somebody who's met you over just in the last few years, you spoke at one of our banquets. Your voice is so powerful and your spirit is so strong that it's truly, really, it's an honor to be your friend and compatriot in this cause. I want to give a shout out right now to Philip from Pennsylvania who's watching. Thanks for joining in. Terry from Georgia, Rachel from Ohio, and Georgia, interestingly, from New Jersey. Thank you all for joining into this cause that we all know is so important. Fran, tell us, you're a team captain. What does it mean for you and to be part of a team, people that are committed to your cause and to doing something about this disease?
So I am a team captain. I'm the team captain of Team Ethel. Ethel was my oldest sister. She unfortunately succumbed to the complications of MS last June. And last year, that was my first ride. I rode about 3 weeks before she passed away. And really, at that time, it was just me and one of my sons who participated. So we were a team of two, but we were pretty mighty. We pedaled hard and raised the funds that we could pull together. And really, having participated in that first event so close to the time that was coming for Ethel really inspired me to see she was the reason I was riding, but now, and that day last year, my inspiration is not just from Ethel. It comes from Laurie and Jeff and those that have MS, those that ride with MS. The things that you all do is just unbelievable. I can't even imagine. I remember talking to my sister in the probably month before she passed, and she said, "Wow, you're really like into this." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm into this. They've got me forever now. I'm gonna stay." I believe there was many years. My sister had MS for more than 30 years, and in those early years for her, it was very hard to diagnose. So there were many years that they didn't really know what it was. So I'm committed. I told her I'm going to keep doing with my body what she couldn't. And then I pulled in this year. I had 13. We have 13 team members, so we went from 2 to 13, and really working hard. Not just in my family. I am from a large family, so my other sisters and their husbands and some friends. I've pulled people in, some people from work. So Team Ethel is going to keep growing every year. I really hope to more than double our fundraising as well as our number of participants. And it's really an amazing organization to be a part of. You know, I feel honored to be able to participate. Thankfully for me, I don't have MS, but I am just so grateful, the open arms, the welcoming, and I'm really committed to helping us find the cure.
Well, and when you say that, it just reminds me from my first ride, when we talk about that sense of community, once you start doing it, you're in and you're all in. And Fran, you talked about the loss of your sister just last year. Our condolences for that. And as you go forward, what is your hope that whether it's fundraising dollars, whether it's local help for people suffering from MS, what inspires you in the name of your sister as you go forward?
Well, I think I work in healthcare, and seeing folks who do not have any comorbidity or other illness not really get active is something that I want to use Bike MS to inspire everyone to say, hey, come on, we need to move as we age. I turned 50 this year as well. So Jeff, happy birthday ahead of time. I'm a little ahead of you.
You both look great, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. So really focusing on helping people. Our health really is about what we do with it. So obviously there's a lot of things like MS that we aren't causing for ourselves. However, there's a lot to do with staying active. And I do believe that if the focus had been on movement earlier for my sister's life, she could have possibly done better, but just so much was not known. And getting the word out that whether you have MS or you have other illnesses, moving is really good. And we've got to push to keep people doing that, and in turn, have them participate, because I do believe we will cure MS. I do believe that it's out there. We just need to keep doing our events and raising money and putting money toward research, toward the navigators to help. Really, there are many diseases out there, but MS is one that I so believe we can really wrap our arms around and stop.
Yes, that's so true. And that's inspirational right there, Fran, because when my mother-in-law was diagnosed, she was 40 at the time. So she lived about 30 years or so with MS. When she first started, there were no drugs. They were giving sort of cancer drugs, beta-seron. And now it's so exciting. I might get the number wrong, 17 or 18 different drugs out there. The fundraising so important, and all three of you are great at fundraising. I want to turn back to Laurie. And Laurie, obviously, we've been talking about your cake pops, and you've got some special ways of fundraising. What are your tips?
Yeah, so my very first year, I was just excited to reach the minimum goal. I don't know if anybody out there felt the same exact way.
Oh, yes.
Because I didn't have, I guess, the connections to be able to do some solid fundraising. But I plugged along, and I leaned into friends and neighbors and anybody who was anybody. And 2 or 3 years ago, my daughter, who I know is on this call because they gave her a shout out from Ohio, had brought some cake pops to the rest stop. She was captain for Rest Stop Red, and she brought cake pops as a treat for the riders. And they went over really, really well. So on the way home, I said, kind of jokingly, do you think that we could sell the cake pops for fundraising? And she said, I don't see why not. And so our team, Mission Popsible, was born out of that. This year, as of like last night, I have already raised over $6,000. And I would say probably a solid third has been from cake pop sales alone. So I think that the awesome thing is that no matter how big or how small, like Jeff said, when somebody buys 3 cake pops for $5, like that adds up so quickly. And the magnitude of being able to reach that, my team has almost hit the $20,000 mark for fundraising this year. So just really blessed in being able to discover that and start a little business with my family.
Well, and that's so good to hear, because for me personally, part of getting focused on this year's fundraising was a challenge, just because we knew it was going to be a virtual ride. And when it was initially canceled, it was sort of a sense of loss, and where do we start? And it's kind of amazing that you've not lost that focus, because you knew that no matter what, people still need to keep thinking about whether it's funding the MS navigators, whether it's funding a cure, whatever the motivation would be. And you said $6,000 already. That's just so impressive.
Yeah, and I was, at the beginning, I was, worried that people would think, oh, well, she's going to ride on her trainer indoors for 100 miles. But that's not the same thing as a 2-day event on the open roads. But so I had to push a little bit harder to be creative. And so we went after Super Bowl and Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day and Mother's Day, and people like cake pops, apparently, Bill.
Well, and it's such a great notion that you just said. It's more than just a few weeks around the ride, which I fall into that trap. It's as the ride approaches, that's when I can tell my potential donors, hey, in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it is, 6 weeks, I'm going to be riding. But you're thinking about it way ahead of time. And Jeff, I know, you've got some fundraising tips just by dint of your magnetic personality. No doubt you get people to open up their wallets.
Well, I'm pretty fortunate that I work in a public career, so I've had the opportunity to meet just so many great people over the years in my community and surrounding communities and where I work. And I made a decision pretty early on that I was not going to conceal what I had. I thought I could be an advocate for other people and selfishly for Jeff. And so I put out there the good and the bad and the ugly about this disease and how it affects me and my friends that are dealing with it and my family. So I was really willing, and I use social media most of the time to do my fundraising, but I was willing to put my story out there. And really early on, I found out that MS was much larger than anybody could imagine. The statistics were drastically underestimated about how many people live with it. And the weird thing for me was, you know, they said, when I got diagnosed, they said about 400,000 people in the United States had MS, which didn't make any sense to me because literally everywhere I went, everybody I talked to, oh, my cousin has MS, or my mom has MS, or my college roommate just got diagnosed with MS. And just if I took that microcosm of my life and the people I associate with, the percentage was way higher than what I was being told. So I continued to push forward and put my story out. And another part that I learned is I navigated through different parts of the MS Society with advocacy and other things that when we find a cure for MS, it's just not going to be for us. It's really going to cross some barriers and help other autoimmune disorders and other neurological diseases. And I've had the opportunity to meet and talk with people who are doing fundraising for those other things too. And our goals are so similar and the research is so similar that all those dollars are coming in because my friend John might be suffering from diabetes and I support him and help him. But then his whole network, when it comes time for Bike MS, he's sharing my story on his Tour to Cure page. And all of a sudden I have this whole new group of people and I try to reciprocate. And it's neat. Cyclists are really interesting people and it's an absolute great avenue for raising money. I don't know what the connection is between bikes and raising money, but there's a lot of organizations that do it. And if I can go out and suffer on a bike for 6 or 7 hours on a Saturday in May and people are following it, I'm going to share that story while I'm on the bike ride. And that's kind of the thing I've learned maybe over the last 7 or 8 years. I'll raise a couple $1,000s while I'm on the road. And
Wow.
My wife gives me a hard time about taking selfies and stuff, but if I'm at a rest stop and I'm feeling terrible or I'm feeling great, whatever it is, I'll take a picture and say, hey, look, I'm out here. I just rode 62 miles. Why don't you donate $62? And next thing I know, I'm getting email notifications at the next rest stop that I raised maybe $200 or $300 between rest stops. So it's, you know, for me, it's just getting out there, sharing my story. I'm human, and I have a lot in common with a lot of people that I never knew. And just sharing that story and being a part of community is pretty important.
Well, what I think Jeff really means is he pulls over to the shoulder, takes a quick selfie, and then keeps going. Because as his wife would tell you, he would never text and ride at the same time. I want to give a shout out now to Heather from Colorado, Lynn from North Carolina, and Mark from Philadelphia. Thank you all so much for joining in and watching. No doubt these stories are resonating with you. And part of when I fundraise, part of my commitment to it, I have these personal connections, my mother-in-law and my college roommate's brother, to say nothing of all the friends I've made since I joined these rides. But that I say to my potential donors, look, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go ride 200 miles over 2 days. That is when there's an organized ride. It's a little harder when you kind of create your own ride, but that I'm going to do that because I'm committed. And that commitment is really what sustains, I can tell, all of you. And so again, I just want to remind anybody watching that we are fundraising to support the MS Navigator program, groundbreaking research for a cure. If these three folks don't tell you why we need a cure, no one will, because they're all so incredible. And I tell you, just riding with you over these last few years has meant so much to me. And here's something fascinating. Remember, if you're a top fundraiser, you get one of these awesome jerseys. These are all of these jerseys that we're displaying are because of raising the money that we have raised. And if you raise $5,000, you get a passport to any other Bike MS ride that you would like to do. So don't forget, there's some things you can do right now. Register, build your team. There's no fee for a virtual ride and everyone in your family can join in. So raise the money. If there's no other reason than what you've heard today, these stories about helping folks with MS, but especially the research for a cure. As Jeff said, there's so many I want to say, parallels or synergies between the efforts raising money in various diseases, but that there's a connection that once we find an answer to one, almost certainly that's going to lead to a therapy for another, or maybe unlocking the code to that, whether it's diabetes or any other disease. And remember, we are here for people that are affected by MS. You heard Jeff say, and no doubt Laurie as well, and Fran's sister Ethel, when they first were diagnosed, that feeling of isolation, of being alone, and frankly, terror, because, as Jeff said, he knew nothing about MS. And if you think back when Ethel was diagnosed 30 years ago, no established community there, or at least not that sense yet of somebody being there. So keep on riding and sharing, please, whether you're at home or on a trainer. As you heard Laurie say, she was debating about being on a trainer. I didn't know if I was going to do it on a trainer. And then I realized, hey, I can put these rides together on my own and send my pictures in. Remember, whether you're going to do a socially distant mile or 100, we put on your favorite Bike MS jersey and show us how you're celebrating by using the hashtag virtual Bike MS. And so you three people, you're three world beaters. It's meant so much to this society. I want to get your final thoughts now, Fran, if I could, on, excuse me, what do you want to tell folks at home? Because the people that are watching right now, no doubt they have a connection or they're watching with somebody that does. What do you want to tell them, Fran?
I want to say thank you. I know there's a lot going on in our nation and in our world right now. People are donating. I know there's a lot of people that have lost jobs or are furloughed, and life is just really, there's so much uncertainty. But I'm certain that what we do have is a community of people that are compassionate, that care, and this is something that we are going to continue working to knock out. So thank you. Every dollar helps. Whatever you can do, please donate, because we really need it for our patients, we need it for our families, and we need it for the community. I think this is a great time to pull together. Why not let it be MS that pulls us together in this uncertain time? So thank you.
And Fran, thank you for your work in the healthcare sector, especially at this time. And again, our condolences. Laurie, your final thoughts, what you want to tell folks.
Bill, over these past, 8 or 9 weeks, I have really realized that we need to live in a spirit of hopefulness, not just for MS and the fight for the cure that each of us is so passionate about, but just in our world right now, and that we really just need to lean into each other. And so many people have shown us that love and that compassion through their donations and through their encouragement and their prayers. I am just so thankful for those, and for the MS Society folks who have worked so hard to try to make these events still special, no matter what they look like. It's just been a really amazing journey.
I told you, Laurie, I'm not going to cry, so don't try. Sorry, these glasses, these new glasses, I never know how they look. Do they magnify what's going on or not? Jeff, tell us, what are your final words to the folks watching?
Well, I just want to echo what Fran and Laurie said about my gratitude towards everybody that's either participated in MS, posted my link on their website, gave me well wishes, donated money. I would not be where I am today without all those people, and especially my family. As we ride, and all the people who have are doing virtual Bike MS, I encourage you to post your link over and over and over the next week or so when you're doing your riding. Our mission is not accomplished yet. We are well on our way to being there. And someday I hope Carly gives me a jersey that says "I rode with MS," not "I ride with MS." Right. And the people watching, you can be a big part of that, whether it's a $5 donation or a $5,000 donation. Every single penny is important. The MS Society is really in hard times right now because of what's going on in the world. But I know that if we all continue to make a contribution, whether it's emotional contribution or financial contribution, we are well on our way to making that happen. And Bill, I appreciate you for having us on here today. I've come to be very fond of you over the last couple of years, and you're an awesome advocate for us. And thank you to you and for all the ladies and gentlemen that work at the MS Society. They need to know that those living with MS really appreciate the hard work they put in every day. And I am who I am, and I'm where I am because of people like you. So thank you.
What's so well said, all three of you, really and truly. And I was just thinking that at first I found it awkward to ask for financial support for this cause in the midst of this pandemic. But when you stop and think of the fact that MS does not stop and that it keeps going on, and then just thinking of your stories and my story too, that just we've got to keep going. So thanks to all three of you for sharing your stories today and for the fabulous work you're doing for Bike MS and for the National MS Society. So for everyone that is watching now, please tell us your amazing ride stories this weekend. We told you to share your pictures with the hashtag virtual bike MS. I challenge all of you now to increase your fundraising goals. Launch your Facebook fundraiser and make that ask. There are so many people out there that want to support you and this cause that you love like we all do. So we'd like to thank the outstanding Bike MS sponsors now, especially our premier national sponsor, Primal, and our national sponsor, Left Hand Brewing Company. We also have great local sponsors supporting our rides all year long. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to stop MS in its tracks. Like you heard Jeff say, how awesome would it be to have a jersey that said, I rode with MS, or I rode with people with MS, because MS is gone now. Boy, that'll be a great day, won't it? So stay tuned for more Bike MS fun on the local event Facebook pages for Bike MS Colonial Crossroads, where we are here in Richmond. And don't forget to share your pictures, videos, and fun stories. Hashtag virtual Bike MS. And finally, don't forget to join us next weekend. That'd be Saturday, June 6th at 10 a.m. So just a week from today at this time for our next virtual ride Facebook Live broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thanks to Jeff Kerr, Fran Peed, and Laurie Gallup. We love you. And again, you guys are world beaters and so inspiring. So everyone out there, get out there and ride, have a safe weekend, and keep checking back for more fun. I'm Bill Fitzgerald. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Let's ride.
Ride on.